So just to wrap that up, I don't want to spend. No, I do want to explain a couple of more things regarding this whole cancer journey, and I'm explaining this in hopes that maybe it can help somebody else for real. After I got discharged from the hospital, I started outpatient chemotherapy. Chemotherapy meaning arsenic. I always thought it was funny. I always called my nurses the best drug pushers ever. I'm like, why are you putting a hazmat suit on while I'm just totally exposing myself, saying, come put it in my port? It's kind of weird. But it saved my life. These nurses, I can't help but give them a shout out. They were a godsend. We laughed and cried, and they treated me so great. I mean, I had frequent flyer miles. I mean, I was up there every day. Most patients aren't, but nope. Every day I'd walk up in there and they'd put me on they didn't have like a regular scale. Well, no, they probably did have a regular scale. You have to be weighed every day, but they put me on the large animal clinic scale. And I'm like, I know you have a regular scale. I've seen these at the vet school. But okay, whatever. Let me put my donut and milkshake down and get my fat ass up there. And then one day, the stickers, the stickers that say, hi, my name is, and you write your name. Well, I had one of those, and I wrote, hi, my name is Liar, and I stuck it on the scale because liar, liar, pants on fire, and they left it up there for a little while. I even rewrote the rules, the patient agreement rules, just stupid stuff. I became really sensitive to sound with this treatment. Like, I was looking at this lady one day sitting across from me reading a book, and I'm like, she was sitting loud, and then it got louder, and I'm like, how am I hearing her sitting? This does not even make sense. It doesn't make sense. And not to mention the man that started snoring next to me, which, let's just say we all plotted on how to smother him gently. We didn't do it, though, but we thought about it. We meaning I will not mention any names. I'm just going to keep it at we. However, but sounds became loud. So, and the nurses know I laugh about this, so I'm not making fun of it. Well, no, I am making fun of it. But what they do is they give you a warm blanket if you want it. Well, I'm so hot-natured, I didn't want that. Although one day I did ask for one, and then like 5 minutes later I asked for another one, and then like 5 minutes later I asked for another one because it wasn't warm anymore, but that was just to annoy them. But they have this basket, and they hand out like chips. It has chips, cookies, graham crackers, and you can get a Coke or, juice or whatever. I'm like, you handing out Doritos or Lay's chips up in the cancer center? All right. Cool. Bring me some. But let me tell you something. Those are the loudest chip bags I've ever heard in my life. So that's what prompted me to write this patient agreement document that I told them, you need to get all the patients to sign it, where they can't put their hand up in the bag and get the chips out. They have to pour it on their hand. And if they get busted being too loud, then they have to be punished, and they can only eat free-range marshmallows. And I was just writing this one day, and it ended up being 3 pages long, and I gave it to one of the nurses, and then it was passed around to all the nurses. And guess what happens? Like, the first thing on my list was, so look, everybody has a phone, right? There's this little thing at the bottom of the phone called a speaker that we talk into. I think everybody's familiar with it, right? And at the top of the phone, there is this, what's it called? See, I have chemo brain. The speaker, I'm saying it backwards, where you put your ear up and you can listen to what people are saying. So let's see. Use it. Do not put your phone on speakerphone and call CVS and sit on hold and hit, 7, 5, hit 4 for this, hit 7 to talk to the pharmacist, and then it seemed like everybody there was talking to CVS for some reason. So anyway, I was talking about how I was explaining in the document how a phone worked. But here's the cool thing. A couple of weeks later, I get up there. I called it going to work. I got to go to work today. It's chemo. I sat down, and there's this laminated piece of paper up in the little cubicle, and it said, please do not use your speakerphone. I was like, freaking yes. What else can I do? Maybe I somehow helped contribute to that change. But you know how rude that is? I mean, not that it bothers me, because honestly, well, no, it did bother me. But I can tune sounds out. But when you have arsenic at like toxic levels in your body, it does something, like with sound. And then God forbid somebody clink some silverware. I mean, I was like going serial killer on him. It was terrible. Oh man, one day a lady walked in. She had a walker, and you know how people put tennis balls on the bottom so it's smooth, right? She didn't have any. She was scraping up the floor. You could probably hear her. Now we're on the 6th floor. You could probably hear on the 1st floor with her walker trying to get to her chair, and almost like it was almost like I don't want to say on purpose. It could have been. I don't know. I mean, I'm not here to judge her, but it was freaking loud. That's all I know. It would have, and probably did wake up the dead. It woke up the guy that was snoring that kind of acts dead. But, yeah, it was wild, the sound stuff. But I'll never forget that, sitting across from that lady reading, and I kept thinking, why is she getting so loud? Every time I look at her, it's louder and louder and louder. So I would text the nurses. I love them. And I'd be like, hey, can you tell your patient to quit sitting so loud? You know, I did that just because I needed to laugh. I was sick as a dog. I felt like crap. Not going to lie. It was brutal. I mean, who isn't going to feel like crap when you have arsenic pumped into your body? You know, the kind of cancer I have, it's so rare. They hadn't treated it in Louisiana. The pharmacist hadn't not even mixed arsenic before. He came down to have a meeting with me about the shelf life of it and all, which I don't even know what he said because I was so sick and out of it. That went right over my head. But I was sick, and but they treated me so great. I mean, I have to do a shout out to Debbie. I love her. She even brought me lunch. She would cook and bring it to me, and some days I felt bad because she's heating me up like this homemade meal, and she's throwing some Lay's at the other patient. Just kidding. She's a fantastic nurse. You know, the funny thing is, everybody there means so much to me. They all have very different personalities, and I learned their personalities. So I knew what bothered who, like Alicia and Danny, the two nurses. Danny cracks me up. She's sensitive to sound, and this man falls asleep in this cubicle next to me one day, and he's snoring like he's about to suck the mini blinds off the windows, which are 30 feet away. And she goes, sir, whatever, she called him by name, you know, we can put you in a private room, because they have, you know, private rooms. I don't know why. I guess for the rich people. Then we don't have any of those in Baton Rouge. That's why they were always empty. Every now and then I got upgraded to that room, to one of those rooms. Jeanette's really the only one that did that, just saying. But then when I got in there, I'm like, oh, I feel all alone. Now I can't pick on him. But anyway, she tried to wake him up to get him to go into one of the private rooms. And he goes, oh, no, I'm good right here. And she said, well, sir, we have other patients. You know, trying to imply that it was disturbing me because I'm really the only one around him. And I said, no, I'm good. And she did. He looked at me like, ugh. And then I start laughing because I'm like, yeah, I'm actually good. I tuned it out. And so that was entertaining, right? For the next 2 hours, I saw her totally keep her composure when we were in a total thunderstorm. That's what it sounded like anyway. Major thunderstorm. By this man who was like snoring so loud, he ate his dinner that's not even been served tomorrow. I mean, he like literally could have sucked the mini blinds off. But I was picking on her because I thought it was funny when she said, we have other patients. And then I said, no, I'm good. And she's like, you're supposed to be on my side. I'm like, My point is, I laughed a lot. As sick as I was, I laughed and I laughed and I laughed. And it's what got me through that. That's my favorite thing to do, is laugh. And, when you're in the medical field, most people in the medical field tend to have a similar sense of humor. And, well, we had a similar sense of humor. Well, you hear that train? That's loud, and it sounds like it's about to come in my house. But, that's what got me through that. I only lived a couple of miles from the hospital, and I told my family, I don't need you to drive me. Let me handle this. And I'll be honest, there were days I couldn't make it home. I would pull over on the side of the road, recline my seat, and just tell myself, come on, you just have a mile to go. When you get home, you can go to bed after you get up the stairs. But still, you only got a mile to go. And the weakness that came with this treatment was bad. I ended up getting what's called differentiation syndrome. It's the thing you don't want to get. It's as a result of the treatment. And I ended up back in the hospital. It's kind of like sepsis. But I ended up back in the hospital, and it's just a really weird phenomenon to feel your body dying. And I had several times where I felt that. But when you're put in that position, there's really nothing to do but just keep doing, right? Just keep moving forward. Just go through the motions, show up. What I started feeling and figuring out was it was keeping me in the moment, which was brilliant. I mean, I was literally living in the moment every day, which I think is how we should be living all the time, right? But we don't. But I was living in the moment because I didn't have a choice but to live in the moment. Plus, I ended up with chemo brain, so I couldn't remember shit. I would call my friend Chelsea, because I'll do, voice memos sometimes, and I what's it called? Yeah, when you record a voice message. And I'd go, hey, I got to tell you what happened today. And that was it. I had everything in my brain that I wanted to say. I could not communicate it. I couldn't get it out of my mouth. So I'm like, well, that's my story. And I didn't get frustrated. I actually laughed about it. What else are you going to do? Why get frustrated? There were only a couple of times it was frustrating. That was when I'm trying to say I need to change a light bulb, and I'm there's nothing coming out of my mouth, and I'm pointing at the light bulb, and I'm like, why don't you get my charades? Why don't you get what I'm saying? Come on, read my mind. But, other than that, frustration wouldn't have served me in any way. I needed to do everything possible to keep my frequency up. So I did a lot of coloring. I had these gel pens, and I would color. And I actually spent probably a year doing that. And I taught myself how to paint. Don't get me wrong, I'm not a master, but I did some pretty good paintings. That was what I did when I wasn't sleeping, and I slept a lot. I didn't have any other choice but to sleep, because what do you do, right? That's the only way your body's going to heal. All right, I'm going to start another recording.